Ladies and gentlemen, in this video I'm going to be going over 13 things that you didn't need to know about 9/11 and the Twin Towers, beginning with the window washing machines. People often wonder, would it have been possible for anyone above the impact zone to possibly use the window washing machines to traverse down beneath the impact hole, possibly breaking a window below and escaping? The problem with the idea lies in the fact that the machines were located on the roof, and the roofs of both towers were locked off, making it almost improbable to escape from them, although in theory, if somebody was within the mechanical floors right beneath the roof and recognized the situation fast enough, they could have gotten onto the machine and lowered themselves beneath the impact zone, possibly breaking a window, and then entering the building and walking to the bottom. Another problem is the machines themselves were extremely slow, so it would have had to have been done right after either of the towers were hit. The best chance would have been the North Tower, considering the amount of time it stayed up after the initial plane impact. Because of the location near the Hudson River, the Twin Towers were built on top of what was called a slurry wall, nicknamed the bathtub. Trenches were dug and filled with reinforced concrete to keep the walls from collapsing from the Hudson River. A 70-foot foundational wall was also part of the bathtub, and some of it was saved after 9/11 and can be seen in the Memorial Museum. The main reason a unique design like this was necessary resided in the fact that the towers were built on a landfill that extended into the Hudson River. The wall was not exactly watertight, as pumps had to run constantly within the World Trade Center basement to remove water. There was some concern that after the towers collapsed, the wall could give way, allowing the Hudson River to flood directly onto the Twin Towers complex and surrounding buildings. Emergency crews immediately shored up the wall with soil anchors to prevent this from happening. Some of the final photographs of the Twin Towers were taken at night in a largely empty building in the final days of August of 2001. By a worker. These photographs were taken on the top stories of the North Tower, including in the banquet rooms directly beneath the Windows on the World main restaurant. There was also a photograph taken on September 10th, 2001 inside the restaurant. This would be less than 20 hours before the buildings collapsed. There was a camera mounted to the top of the North Tower, which was used by broadcast networks to get a shot of the cityscape of Lower Manhattan. The camera would update in intervals, and the camera noticeably moved after the North Tower was hit, moving into a different position, likely from the shock of the impact from the plane. The North Tower was taller than the South Tower because of the antenna that was added in 1978. It was extremely heavy, weighing over 350 tons and standing over 300 feet tall. The antenna fell swiftly as the building began to collapse. This was due to the antenna being structurally connected to the central steel columns. After the collapse of the North Tower, parts of the antenna were recovered and remain on display at various museums. The Windows on the World restaurant was the highest restaurant in the world, located within the 106th and 107th floors of the North Tower. The restaurant was also equipped with banquet and conference rooms and had a staff of over 400. There was a specific elevator that was dedicated to the restaurant, allowing diners to get up to the 107th floor much quicker. The restaurant was also closed for 3 years, originally in 1993 due to the World Trade Center bombing. It sustained water and smoke damage, and it reopened in 1996. There were 170 people within the restaurant complex on September 11th as breakfast was being served at the time of the impact. Due to its ridiculously high location and the fact that it was within the North Tower, meaning that all 3 stairwells were severed upon plane impact, escaping was basically impossible. Of the 170 people within the restaurant, 72 of them were restaurant workers. Ramzi Youssef was not directly involved with 9/11, but 8 years prior, he planted a bomb that was inside of a van within the North Tower parking lot beneath the buildings. The idea was for the bomb to detonate and destroy the outer structural integrity of the North Tower, causing a cascade effect which would collapse the North Tower onto the South Tower. It's a pretty crazy story considering the bomb did detonate with Yusef escaping back to the Middle East, and while there was significant damage on the lower underground portions of the building, it obviously didn't collapse. There was said to be Las Vegas secret meetings with at least 5 of the hijackers visiting Las Vegas over the course of several months leading up to September 11th. The list included the 4 pilot hijackers and 1 muscle hijacker. There was said to be 1 trip in early September, which would have been just days before September 11th, the hijackers possibly meeting to discuss the plot or using Vegas as one last hurrah before their deaths. Muhammad Atta took a trip to Portland, Maine on September 10th of 2001, the day before 9/11, with a muscle hijacker. He stayed at a hotel in Maine overnight, making a stop at a Pizza Hut and a Walmart, along with using an ATM machine. Surveillance cameras show him the night before September 11th. It was said he likely did this to try and get around advanced security screenings in Boston, understanding the security measures at a smaller airport like in Portland, Maine, would be less threatening. He had to take a connecting flight early in the morning on September 11th from Portland to Boston. It is said that Muhammad Atta visited the ER in Florida in June of 2001 due to a severe leg infection. The hospital staff described Atta as extremely arrogant and uncooperative. He refused antibiotics, possibly fearing of tracking via prescriptions. None of the windows within the Twin Towers were meant to be open. On the upper floors, due to heat and smoke, people had to use office furniture to break the windows and be able to hang outside and try to capture clean, breathable air. Air pressure within specific rooms blew out windows after the impacts. This is due to fire expanding heated air within confined spaces, and there's a few videos that show almost a suction-like effect with windows and debris being blown out of the towers before their collapse. Larry Silverstein bought the World Trade Center complex in the summer of 2001. On September 11th, he was notably absent from the Windows on the World restaurant, as his routine after purchasing the buildings was to spend the morning there. He missed it for a dermatologist appointment. Both of his children were also notably absent from the Twin Towers. Silverstein said in an interview that both of his children were supposed to be there that day, but they were both running late. On September 10th, New York City saw an evening thunderstorm. This would have been the last night the Twin Towers existed on Earth. Around 1.16 inches of rain fell that day, which was one of the highest amounts ever recorded for September 10th within New York City. There was a cold front that passed through on the night of September 10th, bringing calm and sunny conditions in the early morning hours of the 11th. September 10th was practically overcast throughout the entire day, with the bulk of the thunderstorms happening in the early evening hours. The cold front is what enabled the famously clear blue skies on the morning of September 11th. It was also unseasonably warm on the 10th of September, with a high reaching around 85 degrees, with present showers in the vicinity that created significant humidity.